All right, we're going to call to order the December 13th, 2017 meeting of the Ascension Parish Zoning Commission. All members are present with the exception of Mr. Chasson. Staff introductions.
Patrice Johnson, Zoning Secretary.
Lance Brock, zoning official.
Eric Poche, Parish Planner.
Jerome Fournier, Director of Planning and Development.
Sean Chereau, Engineer Review Agency. All right, item number 3 is the acceptance of the minutes and written decisions of the November 8th, 2017 meeting. Do I have a motion on that? By Mr. Furman, second by
Motion.
Mr. Scheck-Snyder. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. We did approve those now, Mr. Furman.
Yes.
Just for your referral later on. All right, item number 4 is the chairman's comments. The chair, much to the chagrin of Mr. Dumas, has no comments tonight, so keep going. Number 5 is a public hearing to amend the Ascension Parish Land Development Code for recommendation for approval or denial to the Ascension Parish Council of Zoning Review ID PZ 1522.17, lots 12, 13, and 14 of Don Liu subdivision for Cynthia Stafford. This property is located on the south side of Don Liu Road, approximately 900 feet east of Louisiana Highway 44, to request to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to mixed-use 2. Mr. Brock.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends to accept the MU2 as requested and to look into making amendments to the zoning map to reflect the existing uses on surrounding properties.
All right. Do we have anybody here on behalf of the applicant? I kind of moved to forward. Yes, sir. Come forward, please. State your name for us.
My name is Mark Leto, and I'm the buyer of the property.
And the application says that you're going to use it for parking for employees. Where is your business?
It's adjacent to it.
Is that the large building in the one in lots 15, 16, and 17?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so let me see if I got this straight. You want to rezone those 3 lots to put parking, but your business is a non-conforming use on the 3 other lots that are in
I don't
residential zoning.
understand what you mean.
In other words, your business is in lots 15, 16, and 17, correct?
Correct, yes.
What's the zoning of those lots?
Present zoning of those is RM.
Is what?
RM.
Okay.
RM. So it's multifamily. It's not,
It's medium-intensity residential.
oh, I'm sorry, medium intensity residential, but it's still residential.
Correct.
It's got a commercial use in it. So really, he should be in here rezoning 12 through 17.
I was there long before y'all had a zoning commission.
Understand?
That's why my recommendation is to look at other properties also.
Right. Tell me about lots 9, 10, and 11. They're also in commercial use, right?
Correct. Yes, sir. And across the street, you can see there's homes on those mixed-use 2 districts.
Right. And lots 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 are residential.
Correct.
And
And
I'm
lots
sure that
7.
those are the folks sitting in the back seat and sitting in the back. I mean, in the interest of consistency, we thought about asking the applicant to come in and include those other properties that he owns?
No, sir. I'm not. And he's probably. I didn't really know he owned those. I'm not gonna lie to you, so I didn't know. His issue was that he's non-conforming at this time, and he probably figured that he could continue on with his use. It's not a, he's not changing anything.
I'll be honest with you, but rezoning the adjacent piece of property and putting a parking lot on it, I'm gonna view it as an expansion of the non-conforming use. That's the way I'm gonna look at it.
But it's separate lots.
I don't care. It's still an expansion of the business.
Not if he doesn't, and he doesn't own the property at this time either.
I know. But you own 15, 16, 17.
Yes.
All right, well, let's open a public hearing on this. Ms. Patrice, has anyone signed up to speak on this matter? All right, is anybody here to speak on this zoning review? Okay, we'll close the public hearing then on that.
My suggestion to you, sir, is that I think you should amend the application go back and amend the application, include the property that you own, and bring your property to a conforming status rather than non-conforming status. It would actually be towards your benefit. He doesn't own 12, 13, and 14, but he owns 15, 16, 17.
Correct.
Well, and I would, and just looking at this map, I mean, if we adopted this, what we have is that mixed use on Don Lu, on the south side of Don Lu, from Highway 44 up to Lot 9?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we got lots 1 through 8 is mixed use. Then we'll have 9, 10, and 11, which is residential and probably in a pre-existing non-conforming. 12, 13, 14, and even if we go 15, 16, 17 would then be mixed use and then residential on the back end. We're going to create a little island of mixed use or an island of residential
Well,
in a sea of mixed use.
I was going to finish and tell you about 9, 10, 11. And then what I was going to suggest to staff is that they should, as part of this application, initiate a concurrent staff-initiated application, rezone 9, 10, and 11, so that we would eliminate that island.
Correct.
I would suggest that the commission do that, not the staff.
Okay, we would do that.
Okay.
Then let me say this. I would,
We can make a recommendation to the
no,
council.
I
for
think
that.
we make a motion to direct staff to bring forth an application to rezone 9, 10, and 11. That's one motion. And I would recommend to this gentleman that he request a postponement, go back to staff, amend his application to include 15, 16, 17. It'll help us clean this up, sir, and come back with all of it as 3 concurrent applications. And it would be to your benefit.
If I don't do anything, I just stay the way I am.
Yeah, but you can't use those 12, 13, 14
Then I
as
won't buy 'em.
parking.
And I'm wanting to buy them, but I can't do anything on them except build a house, and I'm not a builder. I don't want to build a house.
No, I
want to put
understand.
gravel on it, and I want to park.
And look, I'm there with you. I'm trying to help you out because your property will become conforming. It'll be to your benefit. You realize that you can't rebuild your business. You can't do it. You can't really alter it. You can't expand it. If something happens to it, you can't do anything about it unless it's rezoned properly. So I'm trying to help you out here.
So had I not come here tonight, I would have never been told that.
Probably not. Most people don't understand what nonconformity is. They think that nonconformity, it's okay. It really isn't. And nonconformity could, can actually impede your ability to finance the business.
Okay? If you say so, it hasn't so far, but let me
No,
ask
but
you
it
this.
can.
What about, when you zoned that area, why did you make a steel warehouse residential?
I don't know. It could.
I don't know anybody that would want to live in it.
I doubt seriously anybody want to live in it. I mean, there's a lot of things in this parish that they just got zoning that probably needs to be cleaned up and should be different, but there's nothing we can do about it now, other than when applicant come forth to help them do the right thing or guide them to do the right thing.
Okay, so that would mean there would be no action until next month?
Right, I mean,
Well, there probably wouldn't be any action anyway, because all we're gonna do is make a recommendation one way or the other. Ultimately, the parish council is gonna approve this or deny it regardless of what we do. They can accept our recommendation, they can deny the recommendation. I think what's trying to be conveyed, it makes more sense is if we make that whole section into mixed use, all the way from Lot 9 through your business. That way, it actually coincides with the other side of the street.
Okay.
So it instead of creating legal issues of spot zoning and things of that nature, you have one conforming use, which it's more logical considering how the whole area is zoned, and it's a benefit to you, as Mr. Dumas said.
Okay.
So-
I don't know anything about lots 9, 10, and 11.
you don't
Well, I
have to
think
worry
they're-
about those. We'll take care of
Yeah.
those.
Okay,
No, that's our recommendation that get changed.
okay.
And I think, is that owned by the Staffords as well?
No.
No, we'll take care
It
of
was
that.
discussed at the beginning stage to do what you're asking, but, forcing the landowner to do something, I mean, I don't think I have the authority to do so.
No, but
No,
the
I
council
understand.
does.
And that's
I-
where
I
it came
don't
in,
think
because
you
it
did
was
anything.
discussed, with the applicant, bringing some other ones in also. But at that point, both of us, I know, making them come in, and he was interested in buying those lots. So that's
That's not
why
a
we
problem.
suggested to come forth at this time.
Right, if you're willing to make that postponement, sir, which you're gonna have to request it, then, I'm gonna make a motion to staff to bring those 3 lots concurrent with your application for rezoning as well.
Okay. Okay,
So I
So
think-
you're asking for a postponement till next month?
yes.
And with that, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna make a motion that staff initiate an application to concurrently rezone lots 9, 10, and 11, so that we would have a contiguous recommendation to the parish council.
Would that also include 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17?
That's his
Those are on-
application
okay.
that
He's
he's
gonna
gonna
put that on
modify.
his application.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you do modify your application, please make sure you include 15, 16, and 17. You'll have
Your
one
lots, the
contiguous.
lots you
Yes,
own.
sir.
Right, okay.
All right. Thank you,
That'd be
sir.
perfect. It'd be much better,
Okay.
much better deal.
Do we
Okay.
need a motion to accept the postponement, O'Neill, or?
No.
Okay.
He asked for it.
And then I second Mr. Dumas'.
All right, so we have a motion on the, the directive to staff, by Mr. Dumas, seconded by Mr. Schexnayder. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, item number 6 is a public hearing to amend the Ascension Parish Development Code zoning tables for the recommendation for the approval or denial to the Ascension Parish Council of a public hearing to consider the modification of the Unified Land Development Code, the ULDC, related to contract agreements. And Mr. Funia, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a follow-up to what we did in zoning to recommend removing the contract agreement process, because all it is duplicative to any developer. They must meet what they are going to contractually agree to meet.
That's
By law.
correct. That is correct.
And we
this
saw
is just
this.
a companion piece to the one that we did under the planning commission.
Right. And just to be clear on this, we saw this with regard to the Crawfish Aquatics expansion or development on Highway 73, where the land was already zoned for what they wanted to do after their spud got denied, and they had to come in with a contract agreement or get a contract agreement approved by us to follow the law. And the problem that it created was, first off, they already have to follow the law, but then it opens the issue up to more politics, because it gives those who want to oppose the use of the land as it's zoned to come in and say, well, you should deny this contract agreement, or you should stand in favor of it, or whatever it is. And it's really duplicative and I think harmful to the process to allow those type of avenues where it's really not founded, because we can't deny somebody the opportunity to follow the law. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure I articulated that as well as I thought it is, but that's my position on it. So, Mr. Funia, do you have anything to add to that before I open a public hearing on this?
I don't.
Okay. We will open a public hearing on this matter. Ms. Patrice, has anyone signed up to speak on this? Then we will close the public hearing on this, and I will entertain any questions, comments, and/or a motion from the
I'll
commission.
make a motion that we recommend to the parish council that they remove the contract agreement from the code.
We have a motion by Mr. Dumas, second by Mr. Christie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, which brings us to the next item, which is a contract agreement. Item 7, contract agreement for Levon Malden Jr. and Bradley Diaz, located on the west side of Highway 73, approximately 1,000 feet south of Post Office Road, to request the approval of a contract agreement. Yes, sir.
Brian Aguilar, BM Aguilar and Associates. Thank y'all for hearing me. This case, contract agreement, where we understand, we talked with staff about the near future of the contract agreement may not exist due to a timing issue in sales and stuff. We chose to keep it on the agenda and move forward with that. And to my knowledge, we've done everything according to the contract agreement. We're proposing a church, which is allowed by zone under contract agreement, as you have before you, and we're just asking for that approval for this project.
Staff, do you have any comments on this?
Yes, everything is submitted according to the code. It's been reviewed by the engineering review agency. If there are any specific questions you have about either drainage or traffic, they would be able to answer.
And the property is zoned for the.
For the use,
The
correct.
use that's being, okay. We'll go ahead and open a public hearing on this. Ms. Patrice, has anyone signed up to speak? Nobody has signed up to speak. Is anybody here to speak on this matter? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Do we have a motion, questions, and/or comments?
Motion to approve.
All right, got a motion to approve by Mr. Dumas,
Second.
second by Mr. Bishop.
I had one quick question. If we did not agree with this, for contract agreement, he can go on, and anyway, it's just following what we had already agreed to about contract agreements previous on that agenda, on the agenda item, so.
The code, as I recall, the code requires certain developments that are larger in scale have this contract agreement in place. And basically, it's to address traffic and drainage, which, as we said before, it doesn't make any sense because he can't do it without addressing traffic and drainage and getting approval from the engineering review agency. So whether it's a small project or a large project, they have to meet the traffic and drainage requirements of the parish, and the engineering review agency has to pass off on it. And just simply makes no sense to sign a contract to that. It's like asking you to sign a contract not to speed on your way home. I mean,
Right.
if you do, you're getting in trouble. And so,
No, the main thing I just want to make sure is that the trigger point is that the design of this,
right.
and.
It's a certain requirement of size, and I don't remember exactly the size that's the standard in
That's what I thought.
in the development code. All right, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. The contract agreement's accepted.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right, and then our final item on the agenda is the staff report regarding the Edenborn area rezoning map. Mr. Fournier?
Same thing. Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, as you recall, a couple of months ago, we did a rezone on a piece of property, or I should say the council did a rezone on a piece of property down St. Landry Road. And that was this piece right here that was rezoned from conservation to medium intensity residential. Council approved that. At that time, when this was brought up for a discussion, the commission asked us to look at this whole area in general and look at a rezone for this entire area of Ascension Parish that lies below the city on the north where we find Cabela's in that large shopping area, and to the south in the east along the area of Edenborn and the newly pushed through portion of Edenborn, going from the portion in the city going east to St. Landry Road. This area is opening up right now, and you as the commission had asked us to look at this as a broad area of concern. We've done a little research on this. We've met with property owners. We've met with certain members of the commission, and we've also talked to the city, because as you know, right here in this area is the community college. Here is a small industrial area, and they have a plan in place that's going to look, this is the city's plan, and they're looking at this area as what they're calling a traditional neighborhood development, which is a kind of a new concept in zoning and planning, where it's a total mixed-use type of product that's in here. It's a combination of residential, it's a combination of retail, and it's a combination of other uses that are going to be in this area. So with that in mind, we looked at this as a real connection between that area of the city and what are we going to look at as a parish. This portion of Edenborn right now is newly opened, and we just punched that through, and it goes all the way to St. Landry Road. This is the Lamar Dixon Center. Here is the sheriff's Training Center. Here's the sheriff's rifle range. So we've got a number of different uses around here, including other residential areas. We've got a trailer park here, a trailer park here. We've got this new development that's going to occur here. And there's a movement that's afoot and it's been discussed for a long time to punch St. Landry Road all the way south to 22. So there's a chance that this might open up in the future. What we're looking at, what the commission has asked us to do is what we recommend as a rezone for this area. And we feel that in conjunction with what the city has planned here, along with some light industrial uses that might occur in this area, that we would recommend a mixture of crossroads commercial along with this parcel and light industrial along with this parcel down here. This parcel right here would very likely remain conservation because it, as you see in this section right here, push this up a little bit. This is the end of the runway for our airport, for the Ascension Airport. We'd like to probably there's a chance that Loose Moor can be punched through, although we can't build within a particular FAA cone on the end of the runway. Roads are allowed in those areas, so within a certain distance of the end of the runway. So conceptually, we'd probably look at a road that might pop through here and then connect into St. Landry Road. So these are the recommendations of staff per your request, and I'm open for any discussion on that. Right?
Mr. Chair, I worked with Jerome and staff on this map and some of this corridor planning in this area. To be honest with you, this is probably the best use for this property in this area to make it consistent with what the city is doing and with the surrounding land uses that are there. So with that in mind, I'm going to make a motion that staff initiate a rezoning for this area and bring it back at the appropriate time for us to take action and make a formal recommendation to parish council.
So we need a public hearing. You're making a motion for a public hearing on the rezone of this at the staff's recommendation.
Right. But they have to come back they have to do a staff-initiated application.
We do,
so.
yes.
And we can do that next month?
We can do that next month, yes.
Well, real quick, question I have, Mr. Fournier, if we put that road, that conceptual road off of Loose Moor to, to the north of the airport, does that absolutely limit, if that road happens, does that limit the extent of what that airport could grow?
There's a possibility of that, but it's somewhat limited in where it can go anywhere. Anyway, that area that's to remain conservation up here is basically a wetland area. So it's going to be difficult to develop that property in any way, shape, or form without any serious wetland mitigation with the Corps of Engineers. So,
Okay.
so there's a constraint right there to the north of the airport in and of itself.
And to tell you, the last time they expanded that runway, they actually
Did they go
went
south
over
or what?
Panama Canal
Okay.
because they couldn't go north. And they're probably at a length of that runway where the next level would
Is significant.
is significant. So that seriously that
That was
do
my
that.
only concern.
So we got a motion to, for a staff-initiated application for rezoning to be put on the agenda next month as a public hearing by Mr. Dumas, second by Mr. Furman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Fournier. That brings
Thank
us
you.
to the last item on the agenda.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn granted. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming, and everybody have a Merry Christmas.